Georgia needed a big play to stage a comeback. And it turned to walk-on kicker Jack Podlesny, as he made a career-long 53-yarder to boot Georgia to a 24-21 win over the Cincinnati Bearcats. The Bulldogs repossessed the ball with 1:28 remaining and drove to the Cincinnati 36-yard line thanks to a series of catches from Kenny McIntosh. After 2 straight incompletions, Podlesny trouted out to near midfield and drilled the biggest kick of his career with 3 seconds left. It turned a 21-19 deficit into a 22-21 lead. Cincinnati's final play of the game ended in a safety and a sack by Azeez Ojulari, who had 3.0 of Georgia's 8.0 sacks in the game. The loss was the first of the season for the Bearcats. Georgia finishes the season 8-2 and almost certainly in the top 10. An interesting decision from Kirby Smart made another controversial decision around a punt in the fourth quarter of game being played in Mercedes-Benz Stadium. With the Bulldogs facing a 4th and 3 on their own 43-yard line, Smart took a timeout. Then instead of going for it, Smart elected to punt the ball back to the Cincinnati offense. The Bearcats, who had struggled for much of the second half offensively, were able to do enough to force Georgia to use its timeouts. The Bulldogs got a stop, but it was still a curious decision from Smart. The decision by Smart reminded many of Georgia's 2018 SEC championship game when Georgia ran a fake punt on 4th and 11 with Justin Fields. The game was tied at 28 at that point in time. The Crimson Tide went on to score and win the game, sending Alabama to the college football playoff. Still, the Georgia offense did just enough to bail out the decision as the Bulldogs were able to get the win. JT Daniels less than stellar, but big lateThere's been a lot of hype surrounding JT Daniels. You saw why that was the case as he had 2 50-plus yard completions in the game. And he did engineer a late scoring drive when it mattered most to give Georgia the win. But this was, by far, Daniels' least impressive game as a Bulldog. He threw a costly interception in the endzone that kept points off the board for Georgia. He then had a fumble that Cincinnati recovered when Georgia was just outside the red zone, one of 2 fumbles for Daniels on the day. Those 2 turnovers were more than he had in the previous 3 games he started for Georgia. There were also 2 instances of situational football where Daniels couldn't come up with the play. The first came on a 4th and 1 when Daniels was unable to hook up with Kearis Jackson. Then Daniels misfired on a 2-point conversion attempt on Georgia's first score of the fourth quarter. But on Georgia's final drive, Daniels completed 5 of his 7 pass attempts for 44 yards to get Georgia in field goal range. Statistically, he completed 26 of his 38 pass attempts for 392 yards. He did have a touchdown pass to Pickens as well. It wasn't an outright bad game for Daniels.